Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Disa Seleko, and you're tuned into a safe space where we will talk about hard conversations on life, love, and all things healing. In today's episode or today's video, we're speaking about grief. Yes, we're talking about the emotion when dealing with the loss of something or someone. But before I even get into the video, I just want to say that I've had so many requests from people since 2020 that are ridiculous, that the number of requests that is, to deal or speak about how to navigate or rather deal with the emotion of grief, or how to grieve, how to heal from losing someone that you've lost. And it has been something that I wanted to do, but I think I don't have a 10-point plan on how you can heal from grieving. So the best way that I can, advise you or shed some light is if I give you my own experience. There will come a time where I will actually go into detail about dealing with grief and living with grief, because I feel we live with grief. It doesn't just, disappear. But a video about that will come, and I hope I will be ready to share as much as I can from my experiences and from what I have gone through, because this is what we do here, right? So before I get into the video, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you are a returning subscriber, transparent conversations are back, and I hope this one you will love. So grief, whether you're dealing with grieving a loss of a life, a loss of a failed relationship, or a failed friendship, or even a loss of self, in whatever form that grief decides to show up at your doorstep, whatever form it decides to show itself in whatever season that you're in, it has the ability to either make you or destroy you. Grief is such a strong emotion that we have somehow learned how to numb the emotion. And it is it's one tricky emotion that can trick you. It's one emotion that can trick you into believing that everybody else around you, everything around you is meaningless and it is useless. And the most dangerous part about it is that it has a way to reflect every bad thing that you meditate on or that you see during that period to yourself. It is an emotion that is so heavy. It is filled with other emotions of of loneliness, of people not being able to understand you, of fear. And I think that's why I say that it's very difficult for me to pinpoint or give you a general formula of how to deal with grief, when individually it differs from person to person, and it manifests itself differently from one person to the other. And that's why you get people who grieve, who sometimes lose their faith, because questions like, if God really loves me and he does exist, then why would he allow me to go through such pain? If God, who claims he loves me so much, can allow me to be left by this person, and that means that he too doesn't love me, so then people go into this trance where they feel like their lives are meaningless. It gets that deep. That's why you get people who are suicidal, people who are so hardened, their hearts become hardened because of this period or season of grief, and because of trying to numb the emotions that come with grief. And what I've learned is that until you have gone through a season of grief, in whatever way it shows up, then you cannot really compassionately be there for somebody else. And me going through grief, the same grief that you did, we might have lost our parents or something, doesn't necessarily mean that my experience of this grief will be the same for you. So my compassion will be in a sense of, yes, I understand what what you've gone through because I've gone through it, but I will not impose my way of healing to you, because it hits differently. We react to things differently. I was talking to a friend of mine this other time. We were talking about grief in a sense of losing someone who lost a life that was very close to you. And I was telling her that the thing about grieving, or the grieving period, you get people telling you that, oh, you need to give yourself time to grieve, as though grief ends after a certain period of time, which I have learned after losing my dad in 2015, that there's no time limit to grieving. Anyway, so I was talking to my friend, and I was telling her that the other thing that that I have learned about grief is that because when on one side someone loses a life, on the other side of at the other end of the earth, somebody else is giving birth or even celebrating a life, so we actually meet with those different people, and when you are in a season of grief, it kind of pressurizes you to heal quicker or numb, which it's easier to numb than to actually go through the process of healing, because the process of healing is now you confronting the emotions that come with grieving. So what we do then is that we end up not giving our emotions the respect that they deserve, like us feeling whatever feelings that come with, and learning to come out of the feelings, and and moving on, not necessarily saying forgetting about the grief, forgetting about your loss, but also just trying to find your feet back into who you're becoming in the season of grief, right? So we pressurize ourselves as a people to seem okay, to seem fine. You get around people because you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to get in a crowd and you start crying when everybody else is happy. And this is a mindset thing, obviously, because I don't think you have friends in your lives that won't allow you to break down in that kind of season, but our minds play tricks on us to make us feel like if I show up as this broken and sad person in this happy environment, then I ruin it for everybody. So then you quickly go back into numbing state, and then that prolongs your healing as a grieving person. So yeah, you go through a lot of internal battles that you don't want other people to know of, and those are the deepest battles that one has to fight. But anyway, the same goes, like the same process or that we take ourselves into when we've lost somebody that we love goes for the loss of self. And when I say the loss of self, is when you're grieving a person that you used to be in a season of change. And I'll go into this a bit further in the video, but what I just wanted to say is that there comes a time in your life where we have to grow from who we were, so that we are able and we are equipped enough to handle the battles that God puts before us in the now. Chances are the person that you were cannot handle the pressures of life that are going on in the now. Yes, your past will inform your future of who you are, but let not that past then cripple your present, because sometimes we hold on so much to the glories of the latter days that we end up not seeing what God is doing in the now, and what He wants us and who He wants us to become in the now. So yes, like I said, we're speaking about grief of losing yourself. And this is something that has been on my heart for a while. It's been something that has been in my journals for a while, because I came to a point where I realized that I am actually grieving. Beyond everything else, I have been trying to hold on to the former me, and the me that I'm supposed to be now is being held back and the me I used to be cannot handle the person I'm supposed to be right now, because the person I am now has new experiences, has new strength, and I'm trying to hold on to the former strength I used to have, which is not enough for the person that I am today. And people who are experiencing this type of grief are enveloped with fear. And I don't know, when I was doing self introspection on this, I realized that there is so much fear in letting go of the person that you used to be, because when you think about it, you're thinking, damn, the person I used to be is the person my friends loved, is the person that got me this job, is the person that got me this platform, it's this person that got me to this place of influence, so you're thinking to yourself that if I let go of this person, who then will I have? What then will I have with this new person? Who's going to accept me? And who's going to accept this new me? Am I going to accept this new me? Am I going to be comfortable enough with the healed version of me? And when I say let go, obviously you're not going to let go of your whole self, and now you're this brand new person that nobody recognizes. But then the process of healing changes you. There's no way you will remain the same if you allow yourself to go through a process of healing. So, which reminds me of a story that I was actually reminded of during my devotion. So there was this time I think it was in primary school, because I was wearing a yellow shirt. So in my primary school, only grade 7s used to wear white shirts, and the rest of us used to all look the same. So I remember it because I don't think I was wearing a white shirt. But anyway, so there I was, and I started crying. I remember vividly, I was crying so bad during break time and during recess, and my friends asked me what was going on. At that point when I was crying, I felt like I don't belong there. I'm not supposed to be there. Why am I here? And I told them that I'm like, you know what, I feel like I don't belong here, and I feel like you guys also don't want me here, and they were like, oh, we don't know what you're talking about, wada. But then right after the conversation, I could see, and I heard them laughing and making gestures to show me how dumb I just showed myself to be. But yeah, so that day, I remember I was being reminded of that day for such a long time, or rather for a long period. I kept seeing that vision every day, but I kept asking myself, why do I have to think about this thing? And why was I crying? Like, why was I such a crybaby? What was going on? And when I was just trying to think back on the season I was in at that point, I realized that actually it was a point in my life where there was a lot going on at home, and I was always in a space of people where I had to pretend that nothing was going on. And when I cried, because I thought I had numbed the feeling of or rather the fear of losing my mom and dad to divorce. And when I started crying, I immediately thought it cannot be that. It should be this. It should be the fact that because things are going bad at home, I don't belong in this happy setting, which is very deep for me, because I thought back then as a child that numbing the pain or the fear of losing my mom and dad to divorce would mean that I never have to deal with it. But it manifested itself in different ways, and this was one of them. So even in that, I also realized that it was also another plan of the enemy, which is also a process of grief that I'm seeing, that the enemy prize on isolated people. So in that moment, I felt like I needed to remove myself from this crowd and isolate myself because of what was going on at home. Obviously I was young and I didn't understand all that. I'm only understanding this now, and I realized this is where my constant need for belonging actually started. When I numbed the feeling or the fear of losing, my parents to a divorce. Even though when I was, angry, I'd be like, I want them to divorce. But deep down, I was scared, because how would life be without them, if they were to live apart? And how would then relate to other people who have parents who are together? Then it was just a threat to my belonging. Would I fit in anyway? Would I be able to relate to people the way I was supposed to? And when I was doing a lot of self-introspection, obviously, that I've been doing, because this is a year of intentionally healing, I realized that is where my fear of not belonging comes from. It's not that I fear the fact that I cannot be accepted by other people, because I think I'm a great person sometimes, but the actual fear is a fear of losing, people I thought or think are close to me. So this is where my story has begun already. So I've been overwhelmed with a lot of emotions recently of not belonging, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to read this book. It's called The Gifts of Imperfections by Brene. I had read it last year, but I think in the season that I'm in right now, it was speaking to me more than it did last time. She speaks on belonging in such a remarkable way, and I just needed to find myself in this place. And when I was reading it, I realized that I was fighting, like I said, I was fighting to remain the same in my circles, in my relationships, in my marriage, in my parenting. I was fighting to remain the same Tisetso who is unhealed in a place where I'm supposed to be embracing my healing, and that clashes, trying to be a person I used to be when there's a change that is happening. So that in itself is a recipe for self-destruction. And you look at yourself and you're just like, I'm not doing enough. You feel like you are worthless. The Bible speaks of how the enemy is like a roaring lion that is ready to pounce. And if you've watched like wild animal dockies, or what do they call it, to discover that those things on Discovery Channel, you will see when the lion is about to hunt, he does it so skillfully, so like he plans it, he does it so skillfully. But one thing that I've also noticed is that he will go after the isolated zebra, the isolated bait, and that's what he does. So during grief, that's one thing that he always tries to push forward, the fact that who's going to accept you with these emotions, who's going to accept you while you're this toxic, who can actually love you when you are like this. You deserve to be alone, and he puts you in a place where you are alone so that he can pounce. And this is what I've seen with myself. I all of a sudden saw myself in a place where I was not belonging in spaces that I felt safe. My safe spaces became unsafe because I felt like not even because they did something to me, no, it's because I was now thinking and taking on the negative things that other people say about me, and embodying them, and be like, I am the person who is bad, and I need to leave, I need to isolate myself, I need to cut myself off for their sake, and which was terrible. It's terrible because you're thinking to yourself, am I really that horrible? But when I did self-introspection, and I was praying, and God did show me that actually you are horrible. You're terrible because you're trying to hold yourself up with strength of a person that I want you to let go of a person who's unhealed, and you are holding on so dear to this person, and I want you to let go of this person. It's like holding on to a rotten potato in your grocery cupboard. It will smell, it will ruin everything in your entire kitchen, you know. And that's how I felt like me holding on to this person was ruining my relationships, because this is not who I am. I shouldn't even be having the fear of losing the people if they're supposed to be in my life. So when all of this was happening, I had to now confront and question this sudden desire of knowing my place in people's lives. Like, what was the driving force to it? And it was fear. Literally, I could see myself changing. I could see myself evolving, but I also saw myself losing a lot of people, and that is where the fear came in. And for me, I thought I was protecting myself from, you know, the hurt of losing people and having to numb the pain of grief again by telling people, no, I'm cutting myself off from you because I'm toxic, you know. Which was it's very hard. I mean, even when I was sitting and God was showing me my own toxic traits, that was hard. That was a hard pillow to swallow by itself, you know. But when God does that, it's not because he's trying to condemn you. God is not like man. When he shows you your toxic traits, he's showing you an area that needs healing. And you know, the first day when those things were being shown to me, I was like, damn, I'm a horrible person. I started texting my friends like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm this horrible person and I need to leave you guys. And I was literally crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been this horrible. You guys have been tolerating a whole lot of nonsense. And then the next day, God was like, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Yeah, so the things that you do are horrible, but I'm just showing you areas in your life that need healing, that need me. And as soon as I surrendered to the fact that I need him, even in my becoming, that's when I started being kinder to myself. Even in knowing how, you know, some of the things that I do are uncalled for, some of the things that I do or say are not right, like disappearing on people who text me on WhatsApp. People literally get mad at that, and for me it was just like, okay, I'm not okay, so I'm not going to reply. But it's bad, you know. And I had to let go of this constant pity party I had for myself of, dude, you are a terrible person. Nobody deserves to be in a friendship or relationship with a person like you, to exchanging it to you're a good person and God is working on you, and you need to allow God to do that. You need to let go of the fear, because God is the one who's saying, I need you to have the faith that I can put you together, and whoever leaves in the process leaves, you know, but whoever stays, then glory to God, you know. And that's when I had to, I had to get out of my own emotions and start asking hard questions. Questions like, why do I react to certain things like this, and why do I choose not to do this when I'm supposed to do that, you know. Why do I, that's when I started dotting things that come from like when I was still in crèche, you know. And I was just like, damn, like a person needs to heal. It needs to do a whole lot of healing to become whole, right? One other thing, because I think this video is taking too long, that I also realized is that I had somehow attached my self-worth and my position in people's lives to things I do for them. And for a long period in my life, I was at a point where I couldn't do stuff monetarily for people, and I thought because of that, I'm a terrible person. It played with my mind. I meditated on it for a long time, because I attached my self-worth or my worth or my position in people's life to things. And when those things are taken away, then it means I am worthless. So I view myself as a worthless friend, as a person who's not deserving to be loved by other people. And I literally, guys, when I say I needed to do a lot of self-introspection, I really needed to, because it was painful to actually realize that these things that I do or say are toxic, you know. So I had to ask myself difficult questions like, is it fair for me okay to reject other people because I'm rejecting myself first? Is it fair to be unkind to people because I'm unkind to myself? I think I have even taken this being kind to myself thing as so serious that every thought that comes into my mind now that tells me I'm not enough, I really just kick it out and be like, but I am enough, you know. What is there that I can compare myself to? Nothing, you know. And I didn't know that I was numbing a lot of pain, a lot of fear, but now I know. So now it's a process. Now I get into a process of actually healing from these emotions that I was numbing, so that I become a better person. You know, a bitter person is a very dangerous person, not only to people but also to your soul. You stop yourself from receiving when you are bitter. Receiving meaning you cannot hear what the Holy Spirit is saying, because what comes out of your mind and your mouth is just bitterness, you know. And yeah, I could say a lot. I think this video is too long, but what I just wanted you to take out of this video is that the former you will be toxic to the person you are today, because the former you carries experiences that the you that you are today has surpassed. You know, you have experienced more things than who you were in the past have. I hope that makes sense. And it's just that thing that don't carry the strength that you had in the past into who you're supposed to be in the present, because who you are in the present has more strength, funny enough, to handle whatever it is that you may be going through, whatever it is that you may be feeling. So if you're grieving, in whatever way that you are grieving, I pray that you find a way not to numb your feelings and not to feed your fears. And I just pray that you allow yourself to feel and give your emotions, give your emotions the respect they deserve, and then present and then award your present self with the opportunity to learn new experiences and learn new strength. And don't attach your self-worth to things, to people, to things that can be taken away from you. And be kind to yourself. Always remember that you are becoming. Always remember that you are becoming a better version of yourself. And don't beat yourself up too hard, you know. Yes, acknowledge your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. And if you have people in your lives that constantly remind you of how much of a mess you are, I think maybe you should distance yourself from them. Not that you don't want to hear the hard stuff, but also because you don't want to dwell on the bad things about you, because you are trying to change, you're trying to grow. So yeah, my name is Tisetso Selekwe, and this is Transparent Truth.